Let's cross now to Andy Mark in Shenzhen, professor at the Beijing Foreign Studies University. Welcome back to the program, Andy. Now, China hit its annual growth target, but exports did most of the heavy lifting. How sustainable is this model if global trade conditions continue to worsen?
Well, I think I'm going to take the complete opposite tact here and say that, China hit, 1.1 trillion trade surplus this year, which is a record, that this could continue and this number could actually grow significantly because if we look at total global GDP, it's something like 110 trillion. So this represents less than 1%. And we have to recognize, too, that this Chinese exports are not something that China forces on the world, but these are consumers, businesses all around the world that are making rational decisions and are choosing Chinese end products, intermediate goods, because they're cost competitive, they're high quality, and they're delivered at spec to scale. And if you're a business person, you know how important it is to get your deliveries on time at the quality promise. So again, I think that this is an annual ritual. I think we go through with Western media every year saying, that China's economy has structural problems. It's going to face these challenges, and every year it ends up meeting its growth target, and I think just continues chugging along.
Right, so you're saying China has the potential, but domestic demand continues to disappoint from retail sales to property. What is keeping households cautious despite policy support?
Well, I think there's two reasons. And first of all, again, I think let me give another perspective on this. The real estate issue in China is very, very real. It is a problem, but it is also contained. So I think that's important to point out. So you see some Western narratives that Chinese households' wealth has been erased. I think that's really not true at all. And I'll share one number with you. So total bank deposits in China are about 42 trillion US dollars in RMB, but the equivalent of 42 trillion US dollars. Households hold about half of that, so about 20 trillion. And that's actually increased significantly. So I think what this shows is not a lack of spending power, first of all, but there certainly is, as you said, Teeb, caution. And I think on the one hand, Chinese consumers are more cautious. But second, I think that many of them actually are buying and they have the things that they want. So the other caution I would raise is that we shouldn't use Western economies, in particular like the US, as a benchmark to say, what percentage of consumption total GDP should be, because I think there's a reasonable argument to be made that actually countries like the United States are actually engaged in very healthy, even toxic overconsumption.
Right, and growth slightly slowed in the second half of the year. How much pressure does that put on Beijing to deliver stronger stimulus this year to meet those targets?
Well, I think the government recognizes that consumer sentiment is important, but it is not the top priority. And I think we're witnessing, and part of the real estate problem is the government's deliberate transition to an economy with new growth drivers. So technology, advanced manufacturing, and I would say continued export growth as well. And again, if we look at this number, U.S. total global GDP is about 110 trillion-ish. And these are decisions made by individuals, businesses, even governments all around the world to buy Chinese products and increasingly services as well. So I think I would say we can expect China's economy to continue growing on the export front. Consumption, I think, will certainly come back, but it's not going to be, I think, this blockbuster growth that many Western observers fantasize about. And then I think we're seeing this transition, especially with the 15th five-year plan, to deploy artificial intelligence, embodied AI like robotics, to have sustainable economic growth.
Right, and in the meantime, we're hearing that China's population is actually shrinking and the birth rate is at a record low. How serious is this as a long-term risk to growth and domestic demand?
Yeah, I would say that to me, it's a question mark. So conventional wisdom is that this is an enormous problem, it's a crisis. But I would also say, look at what's going on with artificial intelligence, whether these are software AI agents that act digitally or increasingly robots. that can not only work in factories, but also take care of older people, take care of children, go do your shopping for you. So I think that there are substitutes for this, but I think also there's a silver lining to a smaller population as well. So I would challenge this conventional narrative that this is a problem, and not saying it's an entirely good thing, but I think it's perhaps a question mark.
Interesting analysis there, Professor Andy Mok from the Beijing Foreign Studies University. Thank you very much as always.
Thank you, Philippa.